What's up, Crossbone Nation? Welcome to a new show that I kind of came up with today in the shower, which is kind of weird because I usually have MMA on my mind for 90% of the day.
Hold up, bro. Hey, that's a way to start a show. So I was wiping my ass in the shower, and then I fucking thought this up. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
But I don't know. It's called That Just Happened. The plan of the show is to go back and we all have Fight Pass. We don't know what to use it for. We watch it for just basically the Fight Pass cards and everything like that, do our research. But I'm thinking about going back and watching some of the events, the past events that honestly I barely watched or I don't actually remember. So I was thinking about doing the show, getting into it, talking about past events. And today, actually, it hit me before I even picked the topic that we're going to be talking about, the Tough One finale. Today was the 10-year anniversary mark of the infamous Forrest Griffin Stephan Bonnar fight, which we'll get into later. But I just wanted to talk about it and just get into talking about past events. So I want to be that guy that you can say UFC 52 and I can say what main card was, co-main, and everything like that. So this kind of gives me a little bit of research to do all that sort of stuff. But usually we're going to have either 1, 2, or 3 people on the show talking about it. And, of course, I had to have on the first show my boy Eddie Law. What's going on, man?
What's up, dude? It's I don't know. It's one of those things where I wasn't in the shower. Usually, like, my best ideas come on the throne. In the morning, taking your morning glory dump. That's when my best ideas come up. So I can kind of relate.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking. I was like, that was a good fight. But other than that, let's get into it. So, like I said in the past, it was 10 years ago today. I was 13 at the time, which is nuts. I can't believe, shit, I was 10 years old. But just to start it off, Tough One was kind of my first introduction in the UFC. It was random. I came home from practice because I just started martial arts. I was sitting down with my dad about to eat dinner. We're scrolling through the TV, and we saw this Ultimate Fighter thing. We're like, what is this? And it was mixed. They explained it, mixed martial artists, living in one roof, fighting for a contract. And I didn't even know what UFC was. Neither did my dad. So we're like, all right, let's just watch it and everything like that. And the first episode, I was hooked. But episodes later, we get to the tough finale. And the first fight, it was only a 3-card fight. The main event was, I just blank out. Ken Shamrock versus
Rich Franklin.
Rich Franklin. Then we had Forrest Griffin versus Stephan Bonnar and Diego Sanchez versus Florian. Wow, I just totally brain farted there. But the first fight was Sanchez versus Florian. It was a great fight. First, what did you think about Diego Sanchez when you first saw him?
When I first saw Diego Sanchez today, it was crazy as all kinds of fuck, all right? Like, there was no way that this kid, from New Mexico or, living in Albuquerque was going to make any kind of big splash. I mean, the same story, the same way you started watching Ultimate Fighter, I mean, yeah, you were 13, dude. I was 19, all right, 10 years ago. And so the way that happened is, okay, when you grow up in a Mexican household and you're going to watch television in the living room, there's one TV per house in a Mexican, in a old school Mexican household, all right? And you watch whatever your mama watching, right? So most of the time we have fucking, Mexican soap operas on the television. So when I moved out at like 17 and change. I did not wait till I was 18. I was gone.
Damn.
And as soon as I moved out, because I'm young and when you're young and dumb, you get up all this shit that you can't really afford. You start getting it, including cable. And we were able to get cable. We had a bunch of channels. And actually, one of my roommates was into Ultimate Fighter, and he never told me anything about it. And so I started watching it with him. And then we got hooked, and then I got to watch the ultimate, the finale. I think we watched the finale later on, though. I think someone got it on tape or something, or someone had the tape for us, and it was a crazy thing. But when I saw Diego Sanchez on the show, man, all I remember, probably my favorite thing about Diego Sanchez when he got super hammered, and Josh Koscheck fucked with him, tell him I think he told him aliens are coming or something, and Kenny Florian was trying to keep Diego calm. Kept telling Diego, he was making it being damn mother Diego, and Josh Koscheck was coming back talking shit to him. I thought that was the best thing about Diego Sanchez, but I did see the size on Diego Sanchez for even for one, for I think it was a middleweight for that tournament, but before that he was still 170 guy, and I always thought he was big for whatever, he was a big dude. And when he ended up fighting Ken Florian, I thought Ken Florian was gonna have to jits him something nasty, and at the same time, Diego Sanchez on the ground is a scary dude.
Yeah, no, for sure. Kenny Florian was that smaller guy. He was that smaller jiu-jitsu guy, which I respect all the hell because those small guys can take on the big guys. But Diego Sanchez just had that little extra strength, in my opinion, in the fight. Well, talking about the fight, he came out to a mariachi band. Come on, that was.
Yeah, no, that's classic, dude. Like you gotta do it. Cain Velasquez comes out to Los Mandados by Vicente Fernandez. Yes, I know that shit. All right. Who else? Fabricio Verdun walked out to Cielito Lindo in Mexico, against Mark Hunt. But no one did it like Diego Sanchez to have an actual mariachi band in the cage. All right. After I get done with all these Spartan races and everything, because I got the Super Spartan next weekend, and I'm planning to do the Spartan Beast. That's gonna basically cover all my Spartan race stuff. I'm gonna go back to jiu-jitsu, train real freaking crazy for like a year straight, or even and train. I want to train for like a year straight, start competing. All right. And if I ever somehow make it to where I could be like a champion jiu-jitsu practitioner, all right, I want to have a mariachi band fucking walk me out.
No, it was nuts, and I think that was that like the first time we ever had a band inside the cage or some music inside the cage. I know we had some outside. We had Kid Rock outside once. I mean, a long time ago, but I've never seen anything like that. And when I was watching it, I was kind of shocked. I was like, really? That's super weird, but that's cool. Whatever. But then you had Kenny Florian, the small guy. He was a jiu-jitsu practitioner, everything like that. Diego Sanchez I think he was 14-0 by that time. So obviously the crowd was going for him. His New Mexico crowd was his family, and everyone was in the crowd. And in the first round, we get Diego Sanchez just beast moding it. Well, first minute, there's just circling around the cage, it's feeling each other out, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is going to be a boring fight, isn't it? We're going to sit here and watch this. And then Diego Sanchez just turns it up and just starts manhandling Kenny Florian and ends up TKOing him with nasty shots from above and just ended up finishing the fight, and Steve Mazzagatti just ended the fight. At the end, you see Diego Sanchez thanking everybody, his chiropractor, his acupuncture, his cat, the mouse that his cat ate that morning, his breakfast, and of course Jesus Christ and everything like that. But what did you think about the overall fight?
Overall, here's the thing, and the funny thing about Diego Sanchez, because we rewatched that fight today. When he started thanking everybody, my first thought was Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz got it from somewhere. You ever seen the Nate Diaz when he wins and he starts thanking people? He goes on like a freaking 10-page list. I was like, Diego Sanchez was the first one, and he saw Joe Rogan was just waiting for a break to just tell him to shut the fuck up and take the mic back. But Diego was talking a little too fast for him, and Joe Rogan ended up having to interrupt him to get the mic back. But the fight overall, look, it kind of went down as expected. Kenny Florian thought he had the advantage. He thought he had an advantage on the ground, I think. And Diego Sanchez definitely said, fuck that. Now, the first minute, just like you said, they were feeling each other out. The crowd actually started booing a little bit because they were just jumping around and everything. And it looked to me like Kenny Florian was waiting for Diego to make the first move so he could counter, right? And that sure as hell happened, but he wasn't able to counter shit. And Diego ended up just, dominating him. And, I mean, there was a couple times on the ground when Diego was on top landing shots. Like, he had a chance to take Kenny's back, didn't do it, just decided to just keep punching. He had a chance at an Armin choke and ended up bailing on it. Just kind of opting to land more shots, getting the TKO finish. And at the end of that fight, when it got waved off at the end, you just knew Kenny Florian had nothing. He had nothing for Diego.
Yeah, no. And then speaking of Diego, he went on a 6-fight win streak right after that fight. In my opinion, he should have got a title shot back then, but he didn't. He ended up losing after that to Josh Koscheck. Josh Koscheck got his rematch after the Ultimate Fighter fight inside the house. He beat your boy Nick Diaz, Brian Gassaway, Carl Parisian, Joe Riggs, and then ended up losing to Josh Koscheck. But Kenny, after that fight, ended up going, where'd he go? On a 3-fight win streak, beat Sam Stout, Kit Cope, and Alex Caraceres. So Kenny, the person who had the better career, in my opinion, has to be Diego Sanchez. Even though Kenny had the complications with I think it was his back, right, or his knee.
Yeah, well, he had all kinds of issues, injury issues, and in the end of it, so he ended up leaving just for the fact that just to save his health. But I mean, Kenny left on his own terms. So
yeah, and Diego is one of the rare fighters from the Tough One from 10 years ago that is still fighting to this day, and we believe he's aiming for the Mexico card coming up with Cain Velasquez versus Mauricio Verdum. So, well, hopefully he keeps going and showing that the Tough One is still alive and still strong.
Yeah, and the thing about the he's supposed to be in that Mexico card last at UFC 180, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
And he ended up not being able to do it. I think he got hurt. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like all the Mexicans ended up getting pulled from the actual fucking Mexico card, which fucking blew. So
Yeah.
anyway, but yeah, fucking no, Diego Sanchez is a beast, and he's a legend and everything, but he's one of those guys that's got, he's got a foot into, being here to or hanging on too long territory. Like if there's a foot in already. You're just hoping that he gets a win and he decides to call it quits because he's taking so much damage. I mean, last fight against the fight I saw him against Gilbert Melendez, where Melendez ended up winning it, and he was slurring his words. You couldn't barely understand him, and he's saying the crowd knows who won, but he's like, you could barely understand what he's saying, and that's the kind of stuff that makes you feel, makes it hard to watch MMA. But I don't know. Hopefully he can get another win sometime soon and go out on top with a nice little bonus paycheck.
Exactly. But moving on, I actually don't want to talk about the Forrest Griffin Stephan Bonnar fight yet, even though it was the second fight. That fight just changed a lot of stuff for me. So I want to move down to the main event and talk about I just read that. The Ken Shamrock. So what was that? What did it say?
What?
I can't find it.
The what? The tweet?
Yeah.
From Bulldog?
Yeah.
He says this must be the that just happened 10 years ago edition.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. That makes sense.
Well, it does make sense. I'm just saying, like, that's the point of the name, though, dog. It's like that just happened, 10 years ago. But
10 years ago, though, but it did. Because we just watched it.
Hey, look, man, a lifetime goes away in a blink of an eye. It's all good.
Exactly. But moving on to the main event, because like I said, we're going to skip the real main event in my opinion. We had the American fighter versus Ken Shamrock, who looked roided as hell in that fight. I don't know why. When I rewatched it, he was huge. That was in the past and not with the rules. But we have the American fighter coming up on top with a crazy, I guess, I don't know. Did he blow his knee? What was that?
That was he slipped. That first drop where he fell, and actually Rich Franklin thought he had his knee had buckled, and it turned out no, he just slipped. He fell down, and Rich Franklin just took advantage. He did it. I think it happened twice that he slipped, or that he fell. I might just be one, so correct me if I'm wrong, but definitely did not have a main event feel, just like you're saying. But it's not necessarily because it wasn't main event worthy. But because that Forrest Griffin Stephan Bonnar fight was so insane, you expected the event to be over after that. So yeah, man, it's kind of crazy that I mean, it sucks for them. They had to follow Bonnar Griffin after exactly what ended up going down that fight. But Rich Franklin, I think that fight was at 205. Rich Franklin had looked kind of sucked in at 185, moved up to 205 for this fight. And ended up taking it to Shamrock, but Shamrock did look a little bit on the gear, right, on the juice a little bit. And if you see pictures of him today as he's preparing for a fight against Kimbo Slice, I'm willing to bet money that he's not going to pass that drug test. I'm just saying. So he did not look normal. So but yeah, dude, that fight was pretty. I mean, it was anything. You could put almost any main event after the Bonnar Griffin fight. And it would have been probably a little uneventful, a little disappointing, just for the fact that it didn't have the insanity of that co-main event.
Yeah, no. So we had Rich Franklin, who became right after this fought Evan Tanner for the middleweight championship. In my opinion, Rich Franklin he's like the Tim Tebow of the UFC, if you get what I'm saying.
Uh-oh, we lost him. All right, I guess I'm on the show now. All right, we're having technical difficulties. All right, well, I guess I'll just keep talking while Mr. Pilecki returns, since he is the host. Yeah, look, think about the Ultimate Fighter finale. The Ultimate Fighter was the thing that kicked off the what is the UFC? Oh, here we go. You good?
And I'm back. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
my internet just like crapped out for some reason. I don't know. That was weird.
You're a
But
little fuzzy. You're on. You're good. There you go.
okay, sweet. So, like I was saying, like Rich Franklin is kind of like the Tim Tebow of the UFC, in my opinion. He's that very religious guy. I got to actually see him at a local church down here. He did a little event and everything like that. It was actually pretty cool seeing that. But Rich Franklin went on to win the middleweight championship and beat Nate Corey, and then win another fight, and then he ended up losing to, of course, my favorite fighter, Anderson Silva. But Rich Franklin, this fight kind of skyrocketed his career and moved him up to that superstardom, if you can say, against Ken Shamrock, because Ken Shamrock was that beast back in the day. He was there from UFC 1 all the way up to, it was coming up, I think, on UFC 50 or something like that, coming after the tough one. So what do you think about like Rich Franklin nowadays? Is he retired? Do you think he's retired? Do you think he'll come back?
Yeah. Well, our friends over at Stand and Bang Radio, nice little plug there. They actually had an episode where they had Rich Franklin as their special guest, and he leaves that door open for a fight. He hasn't completely closed it, but his work he's working for one championship. So he used to be one FC, now it's one championships. And his work there is keeping him pretty damn busy, so I wouldn't really think that he's going to fight again. Then again, Mike Swick just got to fight, so I wouldn't put it past Rich Franklin to come back and fight somebody too. But he still has, he's still open. He's not retired yet. He hasn't really, I don't think he's made an effort to be like, to jump back in the octagon just yet. But I don't know. He officially he's not retired. But if I'm him and I haven't fought in a few years and all that, I might think twice about, I might think about just calling it quits officially. But I mean, we've seen all the time in other sports, guys that just walk away and never really turn into the retirement papers. So you never know.
Yeah, exactly. And I like Rich Franklin as a fighter. Same with Ken Shamrock, where we're going to see him, like you said, in Bellator fighting Kimbo Slice in maybe they're probably going to not pass their drug test fight, which is going to.
I will break the news right now. Ken Shamrock is for sure not passing that test, all right? And Kimbo Slice is for sure not coming in the fight healthy. This fight is fucked already. Like, there's no way, all right? I don't see it being possible. I just don't see it possible. If it happens, fine. I'll shut the hell up about it. But still, when I heard that they're going to do out-of-competition testing, I literally tweeted out, okay, well, might as well just cancel the fight now because it's over. There's no way. But, yeah.
Exactly. So moving on to the actual real main event, we have Forrest Griffin versus Stephan Bonnar, the first fight, the fight that you can say skyrocketed the UFC into the stardom that it is now. This was the fight that actually got my friends introduced into mixed martial arts, because I was that guy, as Joe Rogan says, calling his friends up saying, dude, you got to check this shit out. There's two white guys beating the hell out of each other. You need to watch this fight. And it was insane. You have Forrest Griffin. It's basically you have two walls fighting each other. None of them would drop. None of them would give up, and they just kept smiling, all bloody. But this was the fight that got me into mixed martial arts. I was in martial arts already. I was still iffy on it, but after watching this fight, even though there's no martial arts in this whole fight, it's just basically street fight, but you see the kicks, you see the takedowns, you see the heart and the determination. That's what got me into martial arts and made me want to achieve and keep going to get my black belt and compete and do something with mixed martial arts. And this was the fight. But what did you think about the fight overall?
You know, just like you said, man, here's the thing. We got lucky that getting a matchup with two guys that literally threw all fucks out the window after the first minute and a half. Bonnar, after the fight, was talking to Rogan, telling him, I had a plan to do this and that, and then after a couple minutes, we just threw it out the window, started throwing bones or whatever. They were just throwing hard. Forrest Griffin, on the other hand, is famous for saying that he needs to get punched in the face first to wake up and be like, oh shit, I'm in a fight. I better fight back. So we got really lucky with the two guys that got in there, and these are two guys that are all heart and that are just really super tough guys. But overall, the fight, look, man, a lot of people after the fight were talking. I know we were talking on Facebook before we started the show. That I heard people booing after they announced the decision. They were booing, they were chanting bullshit and all that. And I don't agree with them for the fact that I the whole time I thought Forrest Griffin won that fight. Not not unanimously. I thought it should have been split, but still, I thought Forrest Griffin got the takedowns, and that basically edged it towards him. But no, but what a crazy war of going back and forth. Forrest Griffin would hurt Bonnar. Bonnar would hurt him right back. Forrest Griffin would clinch and throw knees. And the first round and a half was all Forrest Griffin with knees, and the rest of the fight was all Stephan Bonnar with knees. Like, he learned some shit during that fight. Then Stephan Bonnar with the he did like a spinning head kick, or he tried a spinning head kick.
Mm-hmm.
Tried a couple of those. He tried one of the midsection that missed, and he tried one of the head that barely missed. I mean, Franklin kind of had his arm in front of it, but he still ate a little bit of the impact. But yeah, no, dude. Overall, dude, that fight was insane. Like, even watching it today and watching it in a Fight Pass, I was still like, dude, I can't believe that actually went down the way it did. And then, I sat and watched Shamrock Franklin, and I was like, why? I would have just ended the thing. I would have, if I'm Dana White, I'd have gone up to Shamrock and Franklin and be like, look, are you guys about to do something crazy like that? Because if you're not, let's just move you guys to a different card, because this is not going to work.
Yeah, exactly. No, that like I said earlier, that was the fight that got me into mixed martial arts, and I really enjoyed that fight overall. The first round, you see, I believe both of them threw an uppercut and then a right hook, caught each other, and just kept rocking each other and kept going for it, all bloody, left it all in the cage. And then I didn't realize until this rewatching it that if it was a draw, they would have went to a sudden death round. Should we have went to a sudden death round for that fight being awesome? I think they should have just said, yeah, let's just do it. Fuck it. Let's just give them that sudden death round and let's keep them going. Just ask the fighters, hey, do you want to still go? You want to keep going this? We'll pay you more. Go out and put on a show and keep doing what you're doing. And I would have done that if I was Dana White. I'd be like, hey, you're going to go one more. Just hold it off. But what do you think? Would you do that?
Well, I mean, not like he could. The judges, made a decision. It was up to the judges whether I was going to go another round or not. But it would have almost, to me, it would have almost taken away from what made that fight special. 3 minutes, 3 rounds to make your dreams come true.
Mm-hmm.
A 4th round, yeah, would have been great as far as action goes. But how much do these guys have left in the tank? There's just no way. They were zombie moding at the end of that 3rd round. So I'm glad it didn't go 4th round, but there's always that I wonder what would have happened. And Stephan Bonnar was thinking, like, I wonder who would have gone 4th round. What would have happened, And I think Stephan Bonnar had more gas in this tank at the end of that fight than Griffin did. So, I mean, you never know. But, no, I'm glad it didn't. It keeps that fight special for me, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And then both fighters actually went on a 2-fight win streak right after a 3-fight win streak. Yeah, 3-fight win streak. Stephan Bonnar ended up losing to Rashad Evans, and then Forrest Griffin ended up losing to Tito Ortiz in my opinion, that split decision fight that shouldn't have been a split decision, but maybe we'll cover that another time in another show. But overall, tough one finale. What was your overall reaction of it? Not just the Forrest Griffin fight, not just Diego Sanchez, but your overall reaction. What did the card mean to you?
I think this card set the bar to what fans want to see out of martial artists, out of mixed martial artists, out of MMA, out of UFC, out of any promotion, but out of the sport of MMA. I think this card set the bar, man. We got to see legends begin. This was the start of legends. Diego Sanchez will go down as a legend because of all the wars he's been through, the guys that he's fought, Nick Diaz, Clay Guida. Oh, I don't know. You can argue whether Clay Guida makes you a legend or not. I doubt it. But he's fought, Gilbert Melendez. He's fought big name guys. Moved up in weight and all that to do it too. So, we got to get Diego Sanchez, out of there. Stephan Bonnar and Forrest Griffin are UFC legends for sure. And Rich Franklin still, to be determined, but former champion of the middleweight division and fought Anderson Silva twice. And then, Ken Shamrock's a legend at that point already. He was 41 years old when that happened. He's going to be 51? 51, mm-hmm. Yeah, he's 51 now. And he's going to fight again. That guy's a legend beyond anything. So it was, if anything, not to mention that, just the other fighters, the other 12 fighters or whatever it was that were in the house, besides the 4 guys that ended up fighting for the contracts. The other 12 fighters, Josh Koscheck, friggin' Chris Lieben, all the top 1 guys ended up being guys who were very entertaining and you can call legends, So Dana White, famously has a soft spot for those tough 1 and tough 2 guys, and all the Ultimate Fighter guys he has a soft spot for the ones that came in the beginning that made the Ultimate Fighter what it is, and it has helped shape the UFC to what it is now. But this, like I said, this card set the bar to what you want out of a fight, out of a fighter, out of a Ultimate Fighter series. And now we can see the new blood coming in, and you know what, back then, because I believe I don't think Stephan Bonnar and Forrest Griffin were any younger than 26 when they fought. I think they were either a little older than that or around 26 or so, right? And so back then, all the guys were 25, 26, 27 years old. They just picked up MMA, started training MMA, training it for a couple of years, and ended up being professionals. These days, we're getting guys that are 18, 19 years old, starting to become pros, right? The sport has evolved. In 10 years since Tough 1, the sport has exploded. And you hope that it continues to explode. You continue to see, young guys, taking the sport up and becoming so, highly skilled that maybe at some point, maybe not a tough finale or a tough season, but maybe we get another crazy card, another crazy fight that raises that bar up even more of what makes a fight great. But overall, that card showed everything you wanted: skill, heart. It was compelling. It was, and that is what makes MMA to me exciting. It's two guys going in there two guys going in there meeting toe to toe, saying I am, throwing down, and seeing who wants it more, who has the more will, who can impose their game plan, and who ultimately is destined to be a champion.
Yeah, exactly. And that Tough 1 card is always going to have a special place for me, because that was, like I said before, it was a start of what I wanted to do. I wanted something involved with mixed martial arts, talking about it, competing in it, doing whatever I can to be involved in mixed martial arts and martial arts in general. So that was the card, and it's crazy because Diego Sanchez was 23 during that fight, and I'm 23 now. I'm like, damn, that was a long time ago, but he was 23 and he was a pro, and I'm 23 and I'm sitting down on my couch talking about MMA. But we all moved up in the world. I was 13 back then, and now he's still fighting and everything like that. So it's nuts. It's crazy. That whole card, the whole event, the whole season was awesome. And there's a new Ultimate Fighter coming on, the Black Zillions versus American Top Team, where that's where it's grown to. It's grown to teams against camps now, which is going to be really awesome. So Tough 1, it's always going to be the best. That Forrest Griffin Stephan Bonnar fight, it still, in my opinion, has to be the best fight I've ever watched in the UFC. Not crazy knockouts, not crazy submissions that I do enjoy, but that has to be the fight that I really enjoy the most, that I can watch over and over and still hold a place in my heart, I guess you can say.
Yeah, no, definitely that Bonnar, the Bonnar Griffin fight, man. That you got to give those two guys credit, because they went on in their careers and they took some ass whoopings. All right. Some of they put the sport on the map, and then some of the baddest mofos on the planet decided, hey, I want to do that too, and then, or I'm training MMA over here. Let's go over there and fight, and then they got, they took their whoopings. But like, what was it? You remember Bonnar Silva? Obviously, you watched that.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
where Bonnar came in just deezed up on all kinds of supplements or whatever it was, and Anderson Silva made him look slow and silly. Yeah. That's kind of stuff I'm talking about, but regardless, man, pioneers are pioneers, and you got to get it kicked off somewhere. And the guys, the pioneers, the first ones that make something that big, they're always remembered as legends. So, anytime you see Forrest Griffin or Stephan Bonnar, for sure you're trying to take a picture.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's basically all I wanted to talk about today on today's show. Was a Tough 1 finale. Obviously, it's 10 years ago today that's gone on, and it's really weird that I didn't notice that until I brought it up to you, and you're like, yeah, you didn't know this, that's why you didn't pick this? And I was like, no,
I thought that's why you picked it. I thought that's why you picked it. I saw it, because I didn't think about it until I saw it on Twitter. It's like, oh, it's been 10 years, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And, and then it made sense. I started looking at dates and all that, and I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, 10 years. And then you told me, let's do a Tough 1 finale. I thought that's why you picked it. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. Yeah, okay. But
yeah, no, I didn't even notice until I think an hour and a half before we started recording. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But if you have any other events or anything you want us to talk about or anything, I know we have a couple people watching right now. Tweet me at NickXMicro or even my boy Eddie at elaw31 on Twitter. Let us know if you have anything else that you want us to talk about, any events. I want to try to make this for the next couple of weeks. I'm off on Thursday nights, so I'll probably be back next Thursday. Maybe Eddie will be on here. Maybe my boy Mike will be on here, who actually got mad at me because I was recording the show. But if you want to jump on, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us again. But thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.